Hello, my name is Brooke Newberry, and this is my evaluation of how I did on my lesson plan project, which was entitled Crazy About Caffeine, The Importance of Moderation for College Students. And this target population was college students from the ages of 18 to 24. Specifically, this kind of class would have been tailored to students who were avid consumers of caffeine, who drank a lot of caffeine and had the desire to either reduce their consumption or completely cut out caffeine to see how that would make them feel. So if it was actually a real life lesson, students would be able to sign up for it, and there would be a follow-up session where results would be discussed and further goals would be created. In both the written lesson plan and the Cliff Notes presentation of my lecture, I gave very specific educational objectives that I plan to meet with that session for students, and I also went into great detail about what I'd be talking about in the main body of the lesson, which included me explaining how caffeine actually acts in the body and its positive and its negative effects, and how much we are recommended to get per day and what can happen when people get too much per day. I went into great detail because I wanted students to have a clear background of what caffeine does in case they may not understand exactly how it affects us, even though they're consuming it every day. Also, I believe I had a good execution of the daily journal handout that I had for students to complete during the week after the initial lesson. So in the follow-up session, we would discuss their results, and on the handout there was a table for the students to journal all of the caffeinated drinks they drank each day, and they would total the milligram values at the end so they could get some insight into how much they're actually drinking compared to the 400 milligram recommended value. And also there was a little journal at the bottom for each day to keep track of how they felt and if they were experiencing any withdrawal symptoms, if they felt, better or worse, or if anything surprised them, if they had sleep issues, if it was affecting what time they went to bed, or if they were waking up in the night. So I believe that was a creative bit, and it would facilitate a lot of good discussion in the follow-up session. And using the information that students kept track of in that journal, they would be able to have some insight into where to go next, into the goals that they would create, if they wanted to keep on that track of reducing or cutting out caffeine, or if they felt, well, caffeine, I can tolerate what I'm drinking per day, it doesn't affect me negatively, I'm sleeping fine. So it would be a really helpful tool for them to have. So I do feel confident in my work in the written lesson plan template. I believe I put a lot of careful effort into it, and I was happy with my work. As far as the Cliff Notes presentation, I did talk pretty quickly. I could feel myself rushing through it, and that is partially because of my limited experience in public speaking and speaking to a camera in general. And of course, if I was giving a presentation to an actual group, I would probably feel the same way. So I personally need to work on my public speaking a lot so I become much more comfortable in delivering this kind of educational content and feeling confident in myself while I do it. If I were to expand on this presentation, I would go into the relationship between alcohol and caffeine and how they can be detrimental when they're consumed together. And this would have been relevant because the target audience was college students, and I had actually touched on this topic in my initial paper for this project, but when I was deciding what to put into the lesson plan and the presentation, I didn't include this for whatever reason. And I found myself wondering why I didn't include it, but I feel like that could have been a whole other slide or two, and it would have had a lot of good information. I think it would have been relatable for students, so this is definitely something that I would add to the presentation if I were to do it over again.